I don't know if you got a chance to catch up with that rather embarrassing to watch debate last night. Difficult to watch in some respects. I noticed that the word Brexit didn't appear at all. Were you surprised by that?
Well, I am. And again, like you, not surprised because I think it's one of those, it's the word and it's the subject that nobody and no party really wants to touch on. Because I think if the Labour Party were to say, yes, we want to rejoin the EU, it opens them up to a whole can of worms pre-election. And I think if the Tory Party were to say, yeah, we can clearly see that it's not going exactly as planned. We need to revisit it. I mean, I get it from a political viewpoint and from a media and from a standpoint and a polling point. They're not going to talk about it. However, it really does deeply affect so many businesses and so many spaces. And hospitality is at the forefront from my experience of what I can talk about.
What has Brexit done to your industry, Tom?
Well, I mean, so much in terms of cost. I mean, it's added obviously to food inflation. Food inflation is massive, so that has a huge impact across board for the cost of living crisis, people's pocket. When you go out shopping at home, when you go to the supermarket, your food is more. But it's also the same for restaurants, and pubs and hospitality venues, coffee shops, sandwich bars, all those. Everything that's coming in is costing more. So inadvertently, that means that the cost is going to rise from a business point of view, from a sale point of view. Now that inadvertently then again has a massive knock-on effect. If you've got less money in your pocket, you're less likely to go out as often or decide to purchase or shop and elsewhere, and that has a big effect. But I think the biggest one has probably been the freedom of movement of people, which has been the biggest, in terms of job losses within the industry. And then in terms of there's a huge amount of vacancies within hospitality that need filling.
And what about these new border checks that are coming in right at the moment, this new so-called smart or intelligent border with all the new checks? Is that something that the industry talks about and worries about?
I think that hits into the supply chain a lot more, and it's something that I think there has been a lot of problems regarding red tape. There has been a lot of issues for import as well as export as well. Just bear in mind, a lot of our produce is absolutely world class, and we do, the survival of fisheries and agriculture. A lot of it is export as well, which proves to be a big problem sending to the EU. I think the biggest problem that we have had is that trade deals that we've had with foreign countries that are outside of Europe, so that then undermine British farming. We left the EU and sold that, we could improve the standards of British farming by leaving the EU. We can improve the standards of British farming within the EU. It doesn't really matter. But what it does do is improving standards, increasing costs, and then you undermine those costs by going with cheaper trade deals with places like India or Australia, where food is then coming in that is a much poorer quality. So it undoes all the hard work that you're trying to do to improve British standards.
So, Tom, obvious question. You're really upset about the effects of Brexit. Labour refused to talk about Brexit and apparently are not going to do much about it afterwards. Why do you therefore sign the letter endorsing Labour?
That becomes much more about workforce. That becomes about my team of people. I firmly believe that, I find myself in a very fortunate position to be the leader of, 6 restaurants and festival businesses, and have been at the forefront and at the brunt of, what's happened regarding Brexit and the pandemic and an understanding. However, all businesses are built on people. They're built on a workforce. They're built on a team that collectively work together. And if that team of people are unhappy and they're unhappy in their situation, their rent is too high, they can't buy a house, the education system around them isn't right, there is transportation, they can't get to work. There's a transportation system that's really poor. They can't travel up and down the country. They can't move. And above all else, there's an NHS, which means that they can't, on their days off, go and visit a doctor or have, appointments regarding whether any form of treatment or any understanding of what's moving forward. So it's the fundamental basics that are wrong. And so, from my point of view, it's a case of we need to readjust that. In my view, there isn't a single thing of the basics that work correctly in this country.
And and I know that requires investment. How upset would you be if you voted Labour, you got a Labour government, and then they said, look, the books are even worse than we thought, we're going to have to raise taxes slightly on you, Tom Kerridge?
I mean, personally, I would completely understand that, and I would be happy for that. I mean, I am in the higher earner tax bracket, and I'm very happy to pay a higher tax. But there's no point if you can afford it, you pay more. The world is a much better place where everybody has an opportunity to grow. If you earn more money, you should pay more tax. And the argument really shouldn't be about paying more tax. It should be about how your taxes are spent.